face because I spit hot fire.
What is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great night. My name is Suge Knight, and this is the Steel Conspiracy. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope you're well. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for coming and being here with me tonight. Brandon Buck is in the house. What's going on? Raven C, what's going on? Hope you're having a good night. No, I do not have a Raven shirt under my jersey because obviously, as you can see, I'm wearing a tank top. What's up to Henderson? How you doing, sir? Is that what the other side looks like? Yeah, pretty much, right? You know, what up, B? How you doing tonight? Hope you guys are having a great night. Yeah, so we're gonna Stills Conspiracy tonight. It's just gonna be me. We're gonna be talking Steelers, maybe a little bit of the Ravens and their last game because I didn't do it before. We'll talk about last week's games, and we will talk about looking forward to the offseason for the Steelers and Ravens, and then looking toward the AFC and NFC championship games. If you'd like to uh, send in a Streamlabs, you're more than welcome. Or sorry, Stream Elements. There's a pin link. If you have a question or anything like that, you can put it right there, and I will answer it. Sorry for a little bit of background noise. My son is with his counselor, and my kids are playing outside, so there's a little bit of noise. So hope hope it's not too bad. But thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Oh, my bad. Ravens tank top. Yeah, there you go. There's a Ravens tank top under here. Actually, I got a Ravens tattoo right here that says "Ravens suck." What up, big? What up, Big Reg? This is my boy, Jeremy Miller in the house. How you doing, Jeremy? Hope you're having a great day. Ravens, thanks, man. I'm having an okay day, man. It's been a tough couple of weeks, but and I don't know my voice. I don't know what happened to my voice, but it's been a tough couple of weeks. But you know, it is what it is. Jeremy Miller's in the house. Jose, what's going on? Lunch break hot take. One of my favorite podcasts out there. Hope you're having a great day. Hope work was well. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Okay, so obviously we'll talk about the Steelers right now, but let's get into it with the Ravens. They lost 24-17 to Cincinnati. It was a closer game than I thought it was going to be. Tyler Huntley played pretty well if you think about it. Other than the interception, obviously instead of going across, he went up with the ball, which he could have scored. It could have won that game. And but it ended up being a fumble, run back for 6 points. And coming out of that game, he had a lot of things come up. J.K. Dobbins talked about his, um, unpleasant of not being featured in the game, only running for 13 times for 62 yards. Um, there was also talks about how Lamar didn't travel with the team, how Lamar did could have possibly played. You had people talk about put a brace on. Why is he not playing? Things like that. And I think I think it was unfair criticisms. If you watched other Ravens podcasts, um, you know, first off, injured players really never travel with the team. So why people expected him to travel, I have no idea. Especially it's knee, especially because of blood clots, things like that. Why would he travel? It doesn't make sense. But people still brought it up. People still made it an issue. I think he was supporting the team full heartedly, but also too, like I've talked about in previous podcasts, on other shows. The Ravens really have done a disservice to Lamar, and not help surrounding him with talent, and not being able to protect him, not even like I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago with Hendo and Brandy, where is if the Ravens were really serious about signing him, things like that, like they could go to him in private and say, look, we'll give you what you want, or here's the number. Would you agree upon this? If he said, yeah, I would take that. We're going to take care of you, things like that. And we have your back. The coach would come on, defend him, things like that. And we haven't seen those things from the Ravens organization. We've never really seen them side with Lamar. It's always, there's always something. Now, after they lost this game, there's been reports that he's going to be involved in picking an OC, things like that. Do we know that to be true or not? Not sure. I think I was watching somewhere. It might have been Bronny that said it. That said that Harbaugh kind of walked that back. It might have been on lunch break hot take, I'm not sure. But even then, like if you are committed to signing Lamar, you come out there and say, "Hey, look, Lamar's going to be he's going to be very involved in picking out OC. He's going to be very involved because we want him to be the main focus of our offense. We want him to be comfortable, and we want him to be involved in decision making." And they didn't do any of that. So I think Lamar has really checked out. And I said this in the beginning of the season, and I continue to say, if they try to franchise tag him, I believe he's going to want to trade, and I don't believe he'll ever be in the Ravens um, uniform again. Now, a lot of people are speculating, yes, Lamar to Carolina, like Bronny says. There's the Jets a possibility, Miami's still a possibility. There's a lot of teams out there that would be possibilities for him and where he might go. Excuse me. And so I don't think he'll be in a Ravens jersey anymore. I think the only way I think they can repair this relationship is if the Ravens front office, John Harbaugh or whoever the coach is, go to Lamar and they express, look, we're going to sign you, we're going to pay you the money you want, but we need you. We're gonna come out and support you. We need you to come out and support us, and let's get this done and taken care of. And once that happens, then I think if that were to happen, then I think their relationship can be prepared. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Um, and so we're going to see where this goes and what's going to happen in the offseason. And if Lamar leaves, I think the Ravens are going to be an under 500 team. I don't think they're going to be good. Um, Defensively, they could be they could be because they re-signed Roquan Smith. I think they could still be good, but if your offense can't score any points, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything. Even though that defense, because they're not the 2000 Baltimore Ravens where they take the ball away and get score on defense. Like you can expect a score. This doesn't look like a Ravens team that can do that, where they can score, where you can depend on them to score points. And so, you know, I think that I think the Ravens are in a really bad spot, and I think they're in a lot of trouble. If they don't sign Lamar. So we will see what happens in the offseason. If you have thoughts, then let me know in the comments. But this was a tough game to lose because like I had asked I think I asked Hendo and Bronny, I said, would you have rather got blown out or I think I asked Hendo, I don't think it was Bronny. Would you have rather got blown out or would you rather be a close game like it was? And they were kind of like, oh, there's the opportunity to win and things like that. But personally for me, I'd rather just get blown out because when you don't think you're supposed to win and then you're close to winning, it's like frustrating. It's like a tease. It's like going to McDonald's, getting a burger, ordering it, right about to eat it, and someone comes slaps it out of your hand. It's like that. That sucks. So I would have rather just got blown out. But they made it there. They made it a game. It was fun to watch. And they almost had them. And I said this beginning, Cincinnati, the AFC North had them down, and now this team came back, roaring back, and they look like the team from last year. And now they're prime, like they're about to go in a great situation. They're playing under Patrick Mahomes, that's hurt. Many people believe that Patrick Mahomes is the best QB, but he is hurt, and he the offense isn't that explosive offense, even though he threw like the most touchdowns, I believe, of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Let me see. Yeah. So he had 41 touchdowns this regular season and only 12 interceptions. And so he's one of the best quarterbacks, but he is hurt and going so you know, and also too, people forget. Like, don't let's not forget that the Bengals are like 3-0 versus the Chiefs right now. They have beat them every time. Beat them last year when they had Tyreek Hill. Beat them, beat them this year. So and they've beaten them in Kansas City. Like that was always like my thing. Like if you can walk into someone's stadium and beat them in the playoffs or in a big state game, like you can make that claim. Like, hey, we got your number, and Cincinnati has Casey's number when it comes to things like that. They've beaten them in the playoffs, and so we're gonna see. Uh, how this game unfolds if Patrick Mahomes is able to play effectively. I know I heard Bronny talk about it on the Monday Roundtable, saying, Patrick Mahomes doesn't need to be 100% because he's not a scrambler. He is a pocket QB and things like that. But when he's able to try it, when there's pressure and he's able to get out of it, that's when he makes big plays. And if he's not able to get out of those pressures, then that's going to cause the problem. That's where the sacks come in. That's where the miscue throws. That's where throwing off the back foot leads to interceptions. Um, so we're going to see what his health's like come game time, and hopefully, you don't want to hear excuses from teams, or you don't want to hear, you don't want to beat a team that where a guy's not 100%. So I hope he is at least 80 to 95%. Because most guys aren't at this time. You can never claim to be totally healthy. But I hope he's somewhat healthy and can make a game of it, because I don't want to see a blowout, because then you're going to hear Chiefs fans say, "Oh well, it was they didn't beat us at 100%." So I hope he's healthy enough to play and make this a really good game. Real quick, let's look at the comments. Jeremy Miller says, "What receiver elite? Name a receiver elite receiver on the Panthers." And Brownie responds with DJ Moore. Moore's a good receiver. The Falcon jerseys look good. Yes, the Falcon jerseys look good. Hendon would say they saved you by slapping away that burger. He would. Uh, Guy from Norwalk. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. The blowout is better. The Huntley fumble crushed me. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like when you have the opportunity to win the game, and then they win like that. Like I would have just rather got blown out. I'm fine with that. Uh, no, yeah. Imagine if the Ravens played the Chiefs, it would have had Huntley versus Chad Henne at one point. Yeah. Huntley to the Panthers. Book it. There you go. Ravens see calling a shot. Um, Excuse me. Hold on one second. I do not know what's going on with my throat. I don't know what my voice is gone, and I can't talk. Um, so off seasonally for the Ravens, like I said, I think the main priority is re-signing Lamar, getting him back, whether it be tagging him or whatever they need to do to keep him as a Raven. Um, and I believe that trying to find him a receiver, whether drafting or through free agency, but we know what the Ravens have done in the offseason um, before, where they have not gotten Lamar, those receivers, um, and um, have not been able to help him with surrounding him with talent. So we'll see what happens and where Lamar will end up and where the Ravens will end up. Um, but I think you got to give, even though the year ended the way it is, I think you got to give them uh, a positive review, because they still did go. All these, um, they still did finish 10-8. Um, even though Lamar was hurt, especially there in the back end of the season, and they look like a good team, and that defense got better. That you can't. I know I would always clown on them, but that defense did get better. They played hard. But at the end of the day, you need an offense that can score. You need the offense to take the opportunities that they get, and Baltimore wasn't able to do that offensively. And so going into this offseason, they really need to, like I said, work on getting Lamar signed, and work on getting him some talent, and smoothing things over with the running backs like a J.K. Dobbins, and really working on their scheme. Um, in that game, Mark Andrews had 73 yards. Um, and it's you're tight end when you're a Kelsey, and you're that kind of tight end, or Kittle. Yeah, sure, having those tight ends that can produce like that is great, but you want to have receivers that can also produce, and they need to get that from their wide receiver core. Shout out to Bronny for the donation. Appreciate you. So glad you're back. Hope the rest of your night goes better. Lamar to Panthers. Don't read any response to that unless they pay. Thank you, Brownie. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a great night too, and hope you are doing well. So, let's read River C's comment. Brownie, y'all let that rookie of a year ago of the year go, and Huntley would do wonders for y'all. Those Crips for those crisp 4 yard passes he do. Yep, facts. Um, so now obviously the Steelers they lost. They didn't make the playoffs, uh, and they didn't make it to the playoffs. They did finish 9-8. There's a lot of things going on with the Steelers as far as what are they going to do, things like that. There's a lot of fans that are really, I think, being a little ridiculous when it comes to the Steelers. You know, I understand it's about winning playoffs game. It's trying to get to the Super Bowl. Um, the year that we were 12-0 before we lost to the Browns in the playoffs, any Steelers fan should be able to recognize that that team wasn't this all-time great team. Yes, they were 12-0, but it was a circumstance, a schedule, playing who was in front of them, and being able to get through those games. And we weren't that good, And so when we lost to the Browns, like I think we should have got past the Browns, but I don't know if we could have got any. Maybe got to the AFC Championship game, but I don't see us getting to the Super Bowl with that team because just let's face it, Big Ben's arm was gone. The offense wasn't that great. And, the defense was good, but it wasn't this all time great defense. Like I said about the Ravens, how they weren't a defense that, you would think, oh, they're going to get a score every game. We weren't that kind of defense. And so, um, you know, it is what it is. Then the next year, we just got lucky to get in the playoffs. We finished 9-8, I believe. You know, we were Ben was really could not throw down the field at all. And we just happened to get in the playoffs. Lamar got hurt, the Ravens faltered, they were 8-3. I will say though that team did beat Lamar even when they were 8-3. They did have a couple injuries, but you know, for some reason fans use that as an excuse. And they said, well, you never really beat Lamar. Well, Lamar was on that team. He missed the throw to Andrews. We beat y'all, but it is what it is. That team was lucky to get in the playoffs. And the last team that we thought the Steelers were this team, like a top team, is when they lost to the Jags in the playoffs. And because we were overlooking the Jags and we were looking toward New England already when we had lost to them earlier in the year on the bad call of the tight end when he caught the ball and went into the touchdown, they call it incomplete pass or something. And they changed the rule and everything. So, that was the last team where we thought that was a Super Bowl caliber team. And since then, you had the Antonio Brown issues, you had the Le'Veon Bell issues, you had the Big Ben issues, you had all these things, and yet Tom has still been able to put a team on the field that was able to win. And I don't understand where Steeler fans get this mentality of like, and it's funny because you know what they'll say is like, oh, the Steelers way is winning Super Bowls, and things like that. And it's like, well, prior to Tomlin, Cowher won one, but prior to that, they hadn't won one in 26 years. So where the Steelers were used to winning the Super Bowls? Steelers won Super Bowls in the 70s, last one in the 80s, and then in 2006. And then we won one in 2008, and then went back in like 2010, lost to the Packers. I believe it's 2009, 2007. I may have my dates wrong. But so, yes, we're a winning franchise. We had the most Super Bowls won by a team, but let's stop with this narrative that Steelers were so used to winning Super Bowls. when we hadn't won one prior to Cower in 26 years. The last one was in 80. Yeah, we went to six AFC Championship games, and we lost to most of them. There was a point we had 5 AFC Championship games at home, and we didn't win one. I think the AFC Championship game we won was on the road, and then the one when Cowher actually won the Super Bowl was on the road. It was in Denver. So let's stop acting like we're this great franchise. It's so frustrating when I see Steeler fans like really trying to hype themselves up and say we're such a great franchise, this, and that. Like before Tomlin, yes, Cowher would get us to the AFC Championship game, but we would lose, and then he would miss the playoffs. People talk about how Tomlin took a Cowher's team and took him to the Super Bowl, but yet the year that Cowher won the Super Bowl, the next year he went 8-8. And Steeler fans, if you see this, I don't want to see you in the comments saying, "Well, Ben was hurt." Ben missed one game the next year after his motorcycle accident. If he was that hurt, if he had a concussion that bad, because we know he did it later in his career where he said he wasn't going to play because he had a concussion. He should have done it then. So don't sit here and cry and say, "Oh no, Big Ben was hurt," and all these things. No, 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 no. Can't use that excuse now. Okay, so let's pump the brakes, and let's stop saying Tomlin inherited a team because he didn't. Because Cowher had James Harrison on the bench. He was special teamers. Tomlin gave him a starting job. Tomlin believed in him. Tomlin drafted some of these defensive players that made those defensive teams great. Yes, Cowher had laid the foundation, but Tomlin was able to add players and build it up. Okay, so let's stop blaming Tomlin for anything because the man, if you want to say yeah he's underperformed with some of these teams, yeah sure. When he had the killer bees, 100%, those teams underperformed. But you want to know why? Antonio Brown was crazy. Big Ben wasn't the best leader, and Bell. Let's be honest. If we're being honest with ourselves, you know, maybe Le'Veon Bell wasn't that great. Now I know Brian would come in the chat and tell me they ran him into the ground. Okay, but when he left, he went to the Jets. When he went to Baltimore, when he went to Tampa Bay, he didn't do anything. Wasn't that good, you know? So was it the Steelers scheme? Was it Steelers line? Don't know. But Tomlin had to deal with a lot. We didn't find out about anything about Antonio Brown until after he left. And then a lot of stuff kind of started coming out about how he acted and how he was. And none of that was ever really reported, you know? I know people have always accused Big Ben of not being the greatest leader, sure. But he still was a good quarterback. He was still able to win games, you know. I'm pretty sure a lot of you, if you're into football scene, you know, Rashard Mendenhall taking shots at him, who claims that he didn't fumble the ball against the Packers. Yes, Big Ben didn't play well in the Super Bowls. Okay, we all know that. But I tell you what he did do: played great in the playoffs, made big plays, won games. Go go ask Peyton Manning. Go ask Baltimore. Go ask the Jets. Teams that were really good, he put out of the playoffs with his play. So let's stop blaming Tomlin as Steeler fans. Yes, do we want to win playoffs games? Yes. Do we want to win the Super Bowl again? 100%. But this is supposed to be our rebuilding year. And we feel now we're back on we can we can compete with we can beat I feel we can beat the Browns. We can compete with Baltimore if they have Lamar, and we're right there with the Bengals. Now it's developing Kenny Pickett. It's getting a better offensive line and developing a young wide receiver core. And I think we can hang with anybody. I don't think we're far off. But we need to stop doing this whole blaming of Tomlin and wanting him to lose his job and it's mediocrity. Like you do know there's teams out there that have never won a playoff game. There's teams out there that haven't won playoff games in years. Like people were like, we haven't won a playoff game off in 12 years. No, we were in the AFC Championship game. I believe I'm forgetting the year now. Um, in 2016, I believe we were in the AFC Championship game and we lost to the Patriots. But we had to win to get to that game, so we won a playoff game. But you're you're nitpicking. You're nitpicking because you don't like Tomlin. Just say the real reason why you don't like Tomlin. Stop making it seem like Tomlin's just this bad coach. Because I'm telling you right now, there's 31 other teams that would love Mike Tomlin coaching for them. Okay, so let's pump the brakes on that, and let's shout out a couple. Yes, Brodney, Bortles, Bortles killed us, beat us that game. Bortles might end up being the starting depending on the Brady situation. Yeah. Shout out to Mr. OTR Mike, my homie.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Hope you're having a great day, buddy. What's up, Darius? Hope you're doing good, man. Doing good. I don't know, my voice is all messed up. I can't talk for some reason. I haven't done anything, haven't yelled. It's just I can't talk. I don't know why. Um, yeah, Brandon Buck cards would take Tomlin in a second. In a second, they would take him. He's a good coach, possibly a great coach. You know, so I think looking forward for the Steelers. Obviously, uh, offensive line is a huge thing. Um, Middle linebacker, cornerback, and just really developing Kenny Pickett. I know people have had an issue with Matt Canada, and I certainly did. I will say though, I read something and I kind of agree with it to give him one more year because when he was hired, he got Big Ben late in his career with no arm, yeah, really not good O line and young receivers, and they didn't do good. This year he got Mitch Trubisky, a rookie quarterback, a not good O line, and a still young receiver core. Toward the end of the year, Kenny was able to develop the receiver core, got a little bit better. Yes, Kenny did not throw a lot of touchdowns. That's a big issue. But now he has a foundation to work and put his scheme into it. So I think he does deserve this year, maybe the first 6 games, to see, okay, we obviously scored touchdowns. If you can't do that, we're going to replace you and see if he can do it. See if they could score with his system. So I think I do give him another year. I think they need to draft well. I think they need to really draft this O line as best they can, or sign uh, a free agent if there's any available for O line to really help Kenny. Because that if you're going all in with Kenny, then you need to protect him. Wide receivers, they got him surrounded. Tight end, they got him. Running back, they got him. It's the O line now. And defensively, even though the Steelers were very well this year playing defense, I think you need to get a middle linebacker, a corner, um, and really try to help TJ Watt and getting him some help on the other side if Highsmith isn't the answer, which seems to be he is, but then they need to get a little bit more pressure. We know Devin Bush, he may be moving on. We know he wants money. He played better than he did the year before, so I don't know if he's going to get that money from us. Maybe they can work something out. I don't know, but we do know that he wants more money. He wants a contract. Uh, do you sign him? Not sure. I don't think you do because he hasn't really lived up to what first round pick that we drafted him at. Um, there are other free agents coming off our team. Do we re-sign them? We will see. Um, I have faith in our drafts. Obviously, drafts have worked out great for us in the past years. So I think we need a draft and then figure out what we're going to do free agency wise and go from there. Um, I think the Steelers next year can compete for the AFC North um, division. I really do. I think they can hang with the Bengals if they're able to get some good upgrades in their defense. And I think offensively, if Kenny develops the way we think he can, and Canada gets the time to implement his system, I think the Steelers can compete. And we will see what happens in the offseason. We'll see the drafts, the free agency, who we lose, who we gain, and we will go from there. So I think that uh, I think we're in a good spot. I think, and people might say I'm being an ass, but I think we're in a better spot than the Ravens. To be honest with you, personally, I think we're in a way better spot than the Ravens. I think the Ravens are in a terrible position right now. They have a lot of question marks and they have a lot of uncertainties. And I think the Steelers don't. And I think the Steelers just now need to develop the talent in order to compete. And if they're able to do that, I think we're good. So um, we'll circle back to the Steelers and the Ravens in a minute. I wanted to kind of get these championship games out of the way, and I want to get people's picks uh, in the chat. So if you want to give me your picks, who you're taking, and we'll talk about it. Again, there's a pin link if you want to send in the stream elements, please do so. If you want to send in the stream elements, you're more than welcome to. Um, it helps support the show. It helps keep the show going. I'll actually get this out of the way right now. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward with the channel. Um, as far as still conspiracy, I know I'll do some sporadic streams here to talk about Aussies and stuff. As far as late night with Suge Knight, we will see. I do want to continue doing it, but right now it's just hard. Um, with everything going on. I have a lot going on personally, mental health wise, work, school, my kids. So there's just a lot going on. I'm going to try to do the best I can. So it might be some more sporadic. I may want to get some people on just to hang out uh, for late night with Suge Knight. So if you're one of those people that want to come hang out, hit me up. Let me know. If you've hit me up and reached out about the shows, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I just have a lot going on mentally. Um, and just dealing with a lot of stuff. So, but I will get back. I will get to you, and we will, I'll figure it out. And if you have ideas and things you want to see on the channel, let me know. Leave them in the comments. Message me. Let me know what you want to see. I do have some ideas, but again, it's just getting back. It's just getting time to do those ideas that I'm working on, and just right now, mental health wise, I'm not doing well. So, but I'm going to try to do my best to do stuff as best I can. So I thank you for all the support and I appreciate y'all. Mr. J, he says, take some time off. If you need it, man, we ain't going nowhere. I appreciate it. Yeah, I took last week off. Again, I'm going to do it when I can and when I have the time. I'll be doing stuff. And like I said, I appreciate all the support from all of you guys. So let's get into it. And I'm going to start off with the NFC Championship game. I am super excited about this one because my best friend who passed away, and you probably heard me say this a lot, Jonathan, he passed away a while ago. He was a big 49ers fan, huge 49ers fan. And he went through the rough years and he went through the good years. And so he would be so excited to see the 49ers versus the Eagles. Now, I was watching Coach's show last night. I saw a lot of people picking the Eagles. I've heard a lot that the Eagles this, Eagles that. I don't know if the Eagles are that team. Like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched the NFC that much. I just don't know if they're that team to me. Doesn't feel like it. They don't feel like a Minnesota Vikings back when they had Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss and Chris Carter. Or they don't feel like the Philadelphia Eagles with McNabb and T.O. Or they don't feel like the Giants teams. The Giants teams were more comeback, more like underdog teams, but they weren't like this dominant team. And I don't feel like that from the Eagles. I will say 49ers in a unique situation because their third string quarterback is, you know, he's doing good. He's playing well. I think I know I heard people talking about it. What do you do with him and I believe Trey Lance? You know, and I believe it's Trey Lance. If I'm wrong, just let me know. I'm usually wrong. And Brock Purdy. I think that I know the situation is kind of different, but we did have when Nick Foles led the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl and won it. You know, Jalen Hurts was supposed to be that. It was Jalen Hurts. Carson Wentz. Sorry, why did I say Jalen Hurts? Carson Wentz was supposed to be that guy. He got hurt. Foles led him to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, and then they let Foles go because they're like, no, we have Carson Wentz, and then Carson Wentz ended up not being that guy. You know, I don't, I don't know uh, Jalen Hurt, if Trey Lance is that. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I apologize. But I don't know if he, you know, is gonna, what the 49ers are gonna do with him because on one hand he might be the guy. But if you have the Purdy win a Super Bowl, and we obviously can all concede that he's not the reason that the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl, but he hasn't been the reason why the 49ers have lost games. Like, he's played like he should be. You know what I'm saying? And so if Trey Lance is to be the guy, and there's going to be a decision to make. And I know I've heard people say, well, Purdy's a third round quarterback. Flip him. And I think, yeah, that's what you do. You flip them. If you really think about it, they just flip them. Hey, here's a quarterback that just won a Super Bowl. We're gonna trade him. Who's gonna give us what? There are gonna be teams out there they're gonna give up the farm to get him because he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And maybe he is that guy. Maybe he's not. We'll find out. But you can't take a your top pick and replace him with a third round pick because if it goes bad, people are gonna shit all over you, and you don't want to take that chance. Even though this guy probably wins you a Super Bowl, you don't want to take that chance because if it goes bad, it's gonna go bad, and you're gonna look bad. So 49ers in a unique situation. And shout out to Brownie for another tip. Appreciate you. So Super Bowl will be 49ers versus Chief, riding with that pretty hype train. Hey, yeah, I mean, he's not playing like there was a thing today people were talking about Dak and Stephen A talked about how pretty outplayed Dak. People were like, well, he didn't even do anything special. No, but he didn't turn the ball over. You know, I know quarterbacks ain't playing. We always talk about quarterbacks are playing against each other, but they're really not because they're playing against the defense. Um. Oh, Brandon Buck. I'm sorry, Brandon. My bad. By the way, that tip was me. My bad, Buck. I thought I saw Brodney. My fault. Thank you. Appreciate your Buck. That was Buck fucker. There you go. Yeah, Brodney's like, that wasn't me. Um, quarterbacks go head to head. They really don't. They're going against the defenses. And 49ers defense, yes, they're a really good defense. And so Purdy is able to do what he does because of the defense. But also, too, he's not making the mistakes. And we can all agree Dak made some bad mistakes in that game. And you're supposed to be the high paid quarterback. You're supposed to be the franchise guy in a big moment. Like if Purdy goes and throws 3 touchdowns and 300 yards and everything, and Dak throws 2 touchdowns, 300 yards, and he just doesn't get it done, like okay, you got outplayed. But like Dak made mistakes that Purdy didn't, and that cost him. He could have still won that game. It wasn't a close game in the end, but had he or it was sorry, I take it back. It was a close game. He could have still won that game, but you made mistakes. And if you're the guy, You can't make those mistakes. The third round QB should be making those mistakes. So, I think it's unfair to criticize. It's unfair to compare Dak and Purdy, but at the end of the day, that's what we do because we're always gonna put the quarterbacks together, even though they don't actually play against each other. We're always gonna line them up side by side, and all right, this guy performed, this guy did it. You know. Again, Buck, I apologize. That was from you. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother. Uh, Purdy didn't play well against the Cowboys. Dak just played worse. Well, yeah, but how did Purdy not play well? If we're being honest, 19 for 29, 214 yards. Okay. Again, what are we comparing that to? Because if Dak threw for 206 yards, so he did, so he was he threw it 37 times. Purdy only threw it 19 times, and he threw two interceptions. You know, and you can't say, well, Purdy had this great running back. McCaffrey only ran for 35 yards, and Mitchell only ran for 51. Now George Kittle had a good game, 95 yards. Samuel had 45. Jennings had 26. Uh, you know, so you can't say, well, Purdy didn't play well. I mean, he pretty man, like he was there, threw the ball, made some plays, but he didn't make mistakes, and that's what football's about. You can't make mistakes, you know. So, and I know I already see Bronny disagreeing with me. Um, Eagles for O line versus 49 D line, or 49 O line versus Eagles D line. Something has to give. Yeah, for sure. This is going to be a important matchup. Jay, these should be both great games this weekend. Can't wait. I think the Bengals game is not going to be great, to be honest with you. Dakota is the reason why Cowboys lost. If the Eagles can't protect Jalen, he's going to get picked apart by the secondary. 14 for 29, 14 for 19 under 10 yards. He didn't do anything. Yeah, but his coach didn't put him in a position to make those mistakes. So, okay, he didn't do anything, sure, but he didn't make mistakes. It's the name of the game, you know. Two of the interceptions weren't bombs by Dak. They're underthrows. A big play he missed to Lamb out to the flat, where it should have been picked off. It's probably only 6-7 yards. AJ Brown versus one of the wards should be interesting. Who is gonna cover skinny Batman is the real question. People are giving the Cowboys Twitter shit for trashing Dak, but I don't care. I'm done with him. He's way too hot and cold as a QB. All right, Jeremy's giving up on Dak. I don't think the Eagles' run game is going to do as well against Warner, Greenlaw, and I'm not even going to try to say that name. He made mistakes. Dallas didn't capitalize him, so he didn't make mistakes. Hey, that's just how it is. He didn't make mistakes. You can say, well, he made mistakes, but didn't capitalize them. So did he make a mistake? No, he didn't. He didn't make a mistake. He got lucky, got away with it. He make a mistake. Goddard can cause problems. The Eagles tight ends. Pretty didn't lose. He did that. I guarantee behind the scenes the defense is pissed at him and wants him gone. Okay, he still made mistakes. Hey, it's only a mistake if you get caught. Okay, Brodney? Didn't make mistakes. Out here in Texas, people trashing Dak. Now they want Lamar after saying he's a running back. Yes, Brodney will argue with me all day. Kind of like the Jets defense with Zach Wilson. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. You paid Dak all this money. Now what do you do with him? If you don't want him now, all of a sudden, football's a strange thing. Football is what have you done for me lately? Oh, you haven't done anything for me? I want you gone. You suck. Get out of here. We see it with coaching. We see it with players, and sometimes you got to give people opportunity. Like it's their first year, or now Dak has had some years. We understand that he needs to get past the. He finally got past the first round, you know, and he was in a great position. He was playing against a third string quarterback, but he was playing against a great defense, and so as a if you want to be that guy, if you want to be a Tom Brady, you want to be you know, you want to be the elite quarterbacks. Really, only Tom Brady, because people like over exaggerate like the stuff that like Rogers did. Rogers, I know people, the comparisons and everything. But like, what did really Rogers do? He won one Super Bowl. Really hasn't done much. Never went back. Um, you know, hasn't really done much. Yeah, he's won an MVP, um, a couple of MVPs, but all in all, Mendenhall doesn't fumble the ball. Steelers win that Super Bowl. I don't think people are calling Aaron Rodgers the GOAT. And I don't think they're really calling him the GOAT, but I put him in the conversation, top five usually. I don't think he's there, personally. I know this is a team sport, but like he's caused a lot more losses, in the playoffs. Four MVPs, yeah, but I mean, what did you do in the playoffs? Did you go on the road and win games? When you were the number one team, did you get to the Super Bowl? I don't even think they were the number one team when they went to the Super Bowl. I think I don't remember who was that number one team, and I'm not going to try to look it up and remember. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm not saying he's the worst, but yeah, he won one Super Bowl. Okay, he won one Super Bowl. So winning one Super Bowl is the criteria. Is that the criteria, Brodney? I would love to hear this argument from you. Like, like Peyton Manning, he has all the records. He was a league MVP. He was always a top 2, 3 quarterback. You know, not more than Big Ben. I know you hate Big Ben. I'm just messing with you. Rogers going to Jets would be insane for the New York media. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to go to Jets though. I don't know if he's going to go to Jets. I would go to the Raiders. I'd trade. Be like, hey, send me to the Raiders. I get to go back to Cali and play in the, but he would have to play against Mahomes every year, twice a year. But go to Raiders. Go play back. Go back to with Adams. Jacobs in the back. I go to the Raiders before I go to the Jets. Mahomes only has one Super Bowl, yeah. But Mahomes is like Peyton Manning. Look what he's done. He's done it in the regular season and he's done it in the playoffs. He is a personal foul away from going to the Super Bowl, 3 times in a row? He's been able to do it in both aspects. He's been able to do it in the playoffs and in the regular season. And we can all recognize he's probably the best quarterback right now in the NFL, outside of maybe Lamar. That's when you go in there and say, "How come?" But you got to get rid of him. So his one means something, but Rogers doesn't. Who's one? Big Ben. Big Ben has two. Peyton Manning has two. Whose one are you talking about, Rodney? Drew Brees. Yeah, Drew Brees has one. I won't put Drew Brees even though he has a couple records. I put him in the top. I think people over exaggerate about him. He's a good quarterback, probably top 10. I don't know if he's top 5. I would say, bro, if he wins the Super Bowl this year, Mahomes. Oh, Mahomes. I mean, but he's been to the Super Bowl and could have gone a third time. if it wasn't for a bad call. You know, like Rodgers loses in the second round. How many times has Rodgers lost in the NFC Championship game? Aaron Rodgers NFC Championship game record. He is 1-4. 1-4 in the NFC Championship game. Rodgers had bad calls against him too. Not in that big of a situation. Not when they stopped the Patriots and were going to win the game, and a flag was thrown. How many times has Rodgers had a great coach and been surrounded by a ton of talent? I mean, he had good talent around him. He had great defense. He had AJ Hawk. He had other homeboy from USC. Um the one that caused the fumble. God damn, I can't remember his name. But you know who I'm talking about, the linebacker. Donald Driver. Um Jennings. His only win was against Chicago in 2011. He lost to Seattle, he lost to Atlanta, he lost to San Francisco, and he lost to Tampa Bay. Clay Matthews, thank you. Yeah, Randall Cobb. He's never had a Tyreek, Kelsey, not even close. I mean, okay, but that's KSC drafting those guys.
Yeah.
You know, why do we penalize teams for drafting good players? Like we knew people, Lamar Jackson, perfect example. People had a chance to draft him, they didn't draft him. So you know, we're going to start penalizing teams for not drafting players now that we know they're good. Like, when was Tyreek Hill drafted? He was Kansas City drafted him in the 5th round of 2016. That is nobody's fault than the teams that could have drafted him. Nobody's penalizing teams. You are penalizing Rodgers because his team didn't draft better players. They could have drafted Tyreek Hill. He was in the 5th round. Now, if you want to say because of his behavior issues that he wasn't drafted, all right, that's understandable. But every team had a chance to draft him. Kelsey. Kelsey was a 69th overall pick, second round pick. Why didn't Green Bay draft him? I'm not saying it's Rodgers' fault. But you can't say, well, Rodgers never had these guys when his team had an opportunity to draft them. If they didn't draft, if they thought these guys were that good, they could have drafted them. And yes, Hendel says right here, it was a character issue. Okay. So that's everybody's fault. Casey took a chance. Cool. Okay.
By hand.
But you have people that does this for a living where they talk to these players and they find out, is it really a character issue? Is it something else? But they could have had those players. They had an opportunity to get those same players. They didn't draft them. I don't understand why what does that mean anything? If they had the opportunity to get those players, it's because now we know about them that it's, oh well, they could have had those players. We didn't know how good they were going to be. Nobody knew. What are you arguing? You're saying, well, Mahomes has Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, or had Tyreek Hill. Okay. Rodgers could have had those players. His team didn't draft them. So How are you going to penalize Mahomes for that? For having players that were drafted by the team. If they trade it, I could understand that. But they didn't trade. They drafted those players. They're homegrown, and they became really good. Mahomes got drafted. Could have been drafted by teams. Where did he go? He went. I forgot when KC drafted him. But those teams could have drafted those players, and they didn't. So why are you penalizing Mahomes? He's still working on his house. Yeah, and he doesn't even have Tyreek Hill right now. He has Juju Smith and a bunch of unknown players, and he's still putting up 49 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions.
So, what do I start with?
Ronnie, I think you are. I think you are penalizing Mahomes. I mean, he has a better situation, but other teams could have had that same situation had they drafted those players. But because they didn't, I mean, like again, if Tyreek Hill was the first round draft pick, I would be like, okay. Now, see, here's the difference. You're bringing up Josh Allen. The Bills traded for Stephon Diggs. They try to put talent around him, so they manufactured that success. That I will agree with you. Kansas City just drafted players and they became great players. Josh Allen, you're right. They manufactured it by getting him a running back, by getting him trading for a wide receiver, a good wide receiver, which the Ravens should be doing. And they haven't. They could have even drafted. I make the joke all the time. They could have drafted George Pickens. But there was character issues. What character issues have we seen from George Pickens? We've seen a guy that's hungry. We see a guy that plays hard. We see a guy that will work hard. We see a guy that is willing to put his body on the line to play the game. Yeah, he's a little nuts. Well, that's okay. I like it. But the Ravens had an opportunity to get that guy, and they refused. They didn't do it. So guess what? That's on the Ravens. There's no difference between trading for a great player and drafting a great player. Absolutely, there is. Absolutely, there is. There's a huge difference because when you trade for a player, you've seen him perform already, so you want that player on your team because you know he's good. When you draft a player in the second or third round, you don't know if he's going to pan out. How many times have players been drafted in the first round have not panned out, but a player in the fifth round has become an all-time great? How is it that a first round quarterback is a bust, but a second round, third round, Mr. Irrelevant ends up having a great career? Why is it Antonio Brown was drafted way down the line and became a great wide receiver? I'm just saying. To me, there's a big difference. If you don't see that difference, then I mean that's on you. If that's what you want to argue about. But I think there's a huge difference between trading for a great player and drafting a great player because great players are sometimes not always drafted in the first round. We've seen too many times that there's been bust in the first round. But yet we've seen many more times where a second, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round have turned around to become great players. We've seen that. There's evidence of that. And so that is on the player working hard and putting himself in a position to be successful and the team believing in him. Some organizations put talent around their QBs and some don't. 100%. 100% you're right about that. Let's go to Mr. J's comment. Juju, Sky, MVS, Fountain, Noah Gray, Hardman when he feels like playing, McKinney, Pachenko, and I guess CEH before they got hurt. Even if Rogers had Andy Reid, I don't know if he still make it out of the NFC. We're talking about having talent on the team, or doesn't how doesn't matter how they acquire it. I disagree with you, Brody, because if you acquired it by drafting them, especially late, that means nobody else saw what you saw in them, and you found something, and then you gave it an opportunity, and then they flourished. When you trade for a player, if I trade for a top quarterback, I trade for a top wide receiver, running back, it's assumed that they're going to be able to perform because they've been doing it before they came to the team. Means they got lucky most of the time. Okay, well, I guess the Steelers are just lucky. I guess teams are just lucky then. If that's what the way you want to see it. So I don't think hard work is lucky. I don't think putting someone in a position to be successful is lucky. You still got to work hard. You still got to show up. You still got to perform. But if that's the way you want to see it, that's the way you want to see it. But we're not talking about the success of the GM. We're talking about the success of the QBs. But you're saying that there's teams don't put players around QBs, so then you want to, like you're saying, Mahomes is only successful because of the talent around him. When Aaron Rodgers had an opportunity to have that same talent, his team could have had that same talent. They didn't make it happen. So, like, I'm confused on what you're trying to argue. GMs watch way more tape than you're aware of. If you don't watch college, you won't see underseen talent. I mean, I'm just confused what you're arguing about, Brady. Like, you're saying, well, Mahomes had a better situation, but he has a better situation because who didn't have the opportunity, Bronny? Who didn't have the opportunity? Don't the Green Bay Packers get to draft just like the Kansas City Chiefs? Doesn't Green Bay have scouts just like the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't understand how he didn't have how Rodgers didn't have an opportunity. He's not the GM of the team. Doesn't decide who they draft. Okay, Mahomes didn't decide who the GM drafted. Does Rodgers make the fucking pictures? Apparently, he has a lot to say so. Well, I don't know. But let's say he doesn't. He doesn't make the picks. Neither does Mahomes. So they're on equal footing. So you can't say, well, Mahomes has had a better opportunity than Rodgers when neither one of them get to decide that. So then you have to go to the next level, which are the GMs. Therefore, the GMs are making the wrong mistakes, and therefore you should be blaming the GMs. Like Rodgers and Mahomes still need to go on the field and perform. Steelers have 2 road wins in the 09 season, and Green Bay has 6. Okay. What was the point of that? I'm not understanding what the point of that was. Please have beaten 49ers team in the Super Bowl, and 49ers haven't changed that much. No, he didn't. That's why you said he was on a better situation than Rodgers needed is than made their situation. A better situation than Rodgers needed the team. Neither of them made their situation. No, they haven't made their own situation, but that's not up to them. But they still have to go on the field and perform. They still have to use what they have. And if you're telling me Rodgers has a second round, third round receiver, a first round running back, first round O line, but Mahomes has a fifth round receiver, a second round tight end, a third round running back, and a fifth round tackle, like the situation looks better on Green Bay. It just so happens that Mahomes, those players panned out to be better. But Green Bay could have still drafted him. They had an opportunity. The Bengals only had one scout for the longest. Interesting. Rodgers doesn't have excuse if Mahomes is already beating the front end. They both do. Rodgers has been the best player in the league 4 times. They haven't won more Super Bowls because it's a team game. Rodgers in his AFC Championship win against Chicago, he was 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Lost to Seattle, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Atlanta was 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. AFC Championship game against San Francisco, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. AFC Championship game against Tampa Bay was 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. So he's thrown 9 touchdowns for 8 interceptions. I mean, is it the team that's throwing interceptions? I laugh because people will throw Big Ben under the bus and say, like, oh, well, he wasn't a good quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, 9 touchdowns, 8 picks in the AFC Championship games. Let's see what Big Ben's is. Let's look at Big Ben's.
You mean to count all the numbers, they count all the pennies, count all of it?
Big Ben has won 3 AFC Championship games. Against New England, he was 2-3 interceptions. Against Denver, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Baltimore, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. New York, he was 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. New England, he was 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He's thrown 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in the AFC Championship games. So, what was Rodgers' record in it? Rodgers is 1-4. Big Ben is 3-2 in championship games. So, if it's such a team sport, why do we shit on Big Ben? But we won't shit on Rodgers, even though he did way worse in championship games. He is 1-4. Big Ben is 3-2, and has pretty decent stats. But we'll shit all over Big Ben. I think there's a lot more to it. I'm not putting that up, Rodney. Rodney always taking shots at Big Ben when he gets an opportunity. But let me know your guys' thoughts on who you think is going to win the. Let's get back to it. Let's get 49ers Eagles. Who do you got, Rodney? Do you want to come on and say who you got, or you just want to keep it in the comments? Yes, Rodney. I think 49ers are going to win. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a good game. I think Brock Purdy is going to manage the game well and is going to be able to navigate it. And I believe in the 49ers. I think Shanahan's going to have them ready. I think the 49ers are going to win 27-21. Anybody else want to throw in the predictions? Please let me know. And we'll move on to the next game once people put their predictions in the chat. And once again, shout out to Bronny and Buck for the tips. Appreciate you both. Thank you for supporting the channel. You think Purdy's going to be able to handle that hostile Philly crowd? I think so. I don't think he needs to handle it. He just needs to be able to not make mistakes. And I think Shanahan's going to be able to. Scheme his game around Purdy to where he won't make those mistakes. Run the ball, screens, short passes, quick passes, and rely on the 49ers defense. I think that's the most important thing. Ronnie has Chiefs and Eagles. Jeremiah 30-23. Okay. Let's move on to the next game real quick. We're going to make this quick because I don't want to be on all night. Bengals and Chiefs. Again, Mahomes still has that sprained ankle. I think he's probably like 65%, 75%. I think, though, I said it in the beginning of the year, we needed to cut the head off of the Bengals, and teams needed to take them out early, but they were able to come back. I think the Bengals win this game. I think Joe Burr, is going to come out and put on a show. I think that team is now, and they know they can walk into KC and beat them. They've done it. And so, as great as Mahomes is, I just think the Bengals are better. Three-headed monster, a well-rounded defense, a running game, and a quarterback that is cold as ice. So I think the Bengals win this. T-Weezy Rodgers in the playoffs, 45 touchdowns to 15, and Big Ben 38-28. Okay. And in the AFC Championship game, like I've already, in the NFC Championship game, like I pulled it out, Rodgers has very much underperformed for being his all-time great quarterback. Because what did I look up? Aaron Rodgers, he only has, so he scored 36 of those touchdowns in the other rounds. And Big Ben scored 32 of those touchdowns in the other rounds. So. One more to it. Joe Cool is not, he is not afraid of the Chiefs. D-Weezy calls Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. Okay. Unless Mahomes plays fully healthy, I don't see how they win. Yeah. I don't either. I don't see, unless he's just able to pull it off, which would be very interesting. So we will definitely see. Jeremy says Bengals 27, Chiefs 20. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Bengals 33, Chiefs. I'm going to say Bengals 35, Chiefs 28. I think the Chiefs are still going to be able to put up numbers. Yeah. But I think Bengals are going to be able to put up more and be more explosive because of Mahomes being hurt. So I appreciate all of you being here. Like I said, I don't know what the future of the Steel Conspiracy and Late Night with Suge Knight is going to be, but just keep a lookout at my Twitter and post, and I'll let you know what I'm doing. Thank you, everyone that was here tonight. I appreciate all of you. I hope you guys have a good night. Be safe, and I will talk to y'all later.
Because I